Starting with this animation, I made it for Clint and Jones' Dynamic Machines Challenge. I chose to theme it around the game Inside, so most assets are ripped from that game. I had to assist the physics by pushing the ball around using invisible red blocks. I also rigged and animated the feet of the blob character, and used a lighting trick to fake an edge light. I used the normal vector to produce a matte, and the matte defines where the emission shader should be. Here's before, and here's after. I also put an emission shader on all the characters. Here's what it looked like before. I also did the sound design using free sound effects. Next up, this dancing animation that was based on a photo. I was messing around with an AI that takes a photo of a person and generates a 3D mesh from it. The generated mesh looked pretty good apart from the briefcase, so I patched up the textures and sent it to Mixamo for animation. Next, I started working on the background. I used projection mapping for the basic structure, and then I modeled the rock and the tree separately. Finally, I animated the camera and added some snow particles to make it feel a bit more real. I wanted to learn Houdini, so I started with wrangle nodes. Using a solver, I could access properties from the previous frame. That let me do a basic physics sim using Euler integration. I added the acceleration to the velocity to the position, then added some noise to the velocity to make it more interesting. Then when it hits the ground, it flips the velocity to get a bounce effect. I like starting with this to learn any new programming language. Next, a cartoon archaeology scene. I made this entire scene without leaving After Effects. Everything was built using solids and image layers. For the character's body, I used a path layer with an expression connecting up all the nulls making up the character. For the character's head, I used Video Copilot Orb. The main challenge of abusing After Effects like this is the depth matte is non-existent. To hide things behind walls, I had to use many set matte effects. Next, this walking scene. I did the roto by using Photoshop's select subject on each frame to save time. For the lens flares, I used Null Light Factory. Starting with a variety of lens flares to simulate different cameras, I randomized whether each lens flare was visible each frame. I use Echo to make the flare fade over time. Next, I made a matte for the edge of the scene using an inner shadow effect. Finally, I blurred the lens flare layer and used the matte to get this lighting effect around the edges. I think it helps unify the scene. I put some photographers in the background. They're all simple green screen assets I found online. Finally, this stringy animation. It was inspired by a photo of a person messing with string. The mesh was generated using Trapcode Tau. I used Trapcode Starglow to add a red glow at the bright areas. I used Red Giant Hall of Mirrors to add a lot of repeats to the background. They deleted this effect, but it's one of my favorites, so I always use it when I can. Finally, I used Trapcode Shine to add a massive red glow coming from the center. Thanks for watching this breakdown. Though I didn't cover everything, these are the most important.